let's talk about this whole thing. This is one of the things that started it, okay? This is about birthing people, all right? Harvard came out with a tweet. This is the Harvard Med Postgraduate and Continuing Education account, right? I believe that's the full thing. Programs and continuing education for physicians, researchers, healthcare providers, delivered by Harvard faculty. Globally, ethnic minority pregnant and birthing people suffer worse outcomes and experiences during and after pregnancy and childbirth. These inequities have been further highlighted by COVID-19. Watch this panel discussion. It looks like all women. I see a bunch of women. Oh, of course, they had to look at this ratio. 4,000 comments, 2,000 retweets. I believe most of them are, look at this, 2,000 of them were quote tweets, and only 277 likes. That's a ratio, ladies and gentlemen. That is a ratio. And then, of course, they get ratioed on their defense. The webinar panelists use the term birthing person to include those who identify as non-binary or transgender because not all who give birth identify as women or girls. We understand the reactions to this terminology and in no way meant it to erase or dehumanize women. Yeah, well, too bad. That's exactly what it does. You are erasing women. Okay? Sure, they might identify as non-binary, that's all them, or transgender, fine, but they're still biological women. Period. They were born women, okay? So birthing person is a biological woman. You can't change that fact. That is a fact. Period. And you are dehumanizing women by doing exactly this, by saying, well, you know, we got to be inclusive, so women, you don't exist anymore. That's what this feels like. They're trying to delete women. This is from Congresswoman Cori Bush. This is what sparked it recently. This was, I believe, yesterday. No, today. Yeah, this was today. She posted, every day, Black birthing people and our babies die because our doctors don't believe our pain. My children almost become a statistic. I almost became a statistic. Excuse me. Now, her story is actually rather sad. And I agree. There was some messed up thing the doctor told her. But was it racism? I don't know. There's no proof that it was racism. She makes it seem like she was the doctor was racist because she said that she was in pain and the doctor said, you're fine. And then it turns out it was actually a problem. Okay, well, I've been in a situation like that. I had a serious bone infection eating away at my hip. And I was bedridden for months. And the doctor said, you'll get over it, it's fine. It turns out it was osteomyelitis, and I wouldn't have been able to walk, let alone become a professional skateboarder that it did, because the doctor gave me some faulty advice. Now, was that just being a terrible doctor? Yes, it was. Period. There are doctors that aren't perfect. Definitely. All right? But she makes it seem, she goes on and says, luckily I was able to carry my baby, turned out fine and it was great, but that doctor was racist. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's all racist. Everything's racist. If it happens to you and you're a person of color, it's racist. But if it happens to someone who isn't a person of color, well, then it's just a terrible doctor. Okay, no, or we could just have terrible doctors. But the fact is, she says Black birthing people, further further eliminating women, right? As a someone we need to cater for. Everyone's freaking out about Caitlyn Jenner coming out and saying, well, biological women shouldn't have to face against biological men in sports. And I agree. They have an advantage. I think they're right. Here's NARAL, which is Pro-Choice America fights to protect and expand reproductive freedom to everybody. When we talk about birthing people, we're being inclusive. It's that simple. We use gender-neutral language when talking about pregnancy because it's not just cisgender women that can get pregnant and give birth. Reproductive freedom is for everybody. Okay, I'm sorry. The only people that can get pregnant are biological females, women. Why? Why is that? What is the case with that? You know, I don't get it. They're trying to deny science. Even I have another article that I'm going to read in a second. It's about a new species of ants. I know it's a random segue, but I'm just gonna pull it up because it's ridiculous. A new ant species named in recognition of gender diversity. They even admit, the scientists that discovered this ant, there's two genders of the ant. And they said, well, instead of giving it the normal, AE for females and I after the males, we're just going to give it a they, them. Because we want to be inclusive for human beings. It's science. They're changing science. This is not science. This is a mental disorder. I'm sure people are going to be mad at me for that. But there is two genders of this ant. What are you appeasing these small portion of humans because of some ant that has two genders? They've admitted, the scientists said there's two genders of this ant, but because we want to be inclusive and recognize gender diversity, we're going to give it a they, them. That is just weird. It's weird. Now the Tokyo Olympics coming soon, you're not allowed to be political at all. No politics involved in the Tokyo Olympics. They're banned. You can get fined and thrown out. But we've got the Kiwi, the famous Kiwi that won awards. First openly transgender athlete set to compete at a delayed Tokyo 2020 Olympics. Well, I mean, once you really get into this, you learn that she was a male until she was 35. And she couldn't compete. She didn't do well in the men's weightlifting until after she became a woman, and then she started winning awards and beating and winning in the competitions. Well, as a woman. How is this fair? How are we going to bring it to the Olympics and let, I'm sorry, that biological males compete against biological females? I just don't agree with it. I don't think it makes sense. It's just one thing after another. Women are not women anymore. Birthing people, you're a birthing person because we want to be inclusive. Oh, and your sports, by the way, if a male identifies as a female, they get to compete with you. Sorry. And if you're overweight, we can't tell you that you look healthy. Look at this. Tess Holliday reveals she's anorexic. Plus-size model says she's healing from an eating disorder after years of punishing her body. She goes on to claim that she says, I'm anorexic and in recovery. She's not ashamed to say it out loud anymore. I'm the result of a culture that celebrates thinness and equates that to worth. No, actually, obesity is common, serious, and costly and kills people. It's unhealthy. Why are we glorifying this kind of stuff and convincing people that it's normal? It's not healthy. She even says, someone said, people were around her were saying, wow, you're looking healthier. You're looking thinner. Like, keep it up. Good job. And she's like, she said, stop, don't comment on my weight or perceived health. Keep it to yourself. Thanks. And she's like, all I see is people caring for her health, that she might be healthier. It's not healthy to be that overweight. I'm sorry. It's not. You should care about your health or perceived health, whatever you want to call it. That is just ridiculous. And I got to give it up to Evie Magazine. I've read them a few times. And I think this sums up a lot of gold of what the problems are. The 10 worst lies that society tells women. This is from Molly Farrenholt from Evie Magazine. Number 1, marriage and children are barriers to your dreams. Society loves to tell young women that the housewife role is antiquated and wrong. We're told that our worth is in career success, not raising a family. Those who choose to just stay at home are said to be capitulating an old-fashioned idea of the female role. If unshackled from the burdens of husbands and children, they could be chasing their dreams. We should be told that 1, you can achieve other dreams while also being a wife and a mother, and 2, being a household wife can be your sole dream. 2, monogamy and virginity are virtues of yesterday. Since the sexual revolution of the 60s, women have been told that sleeping around is an expression of their freedom. Monogamy and virginity are no longer badges of honor, but rather traits of the uncool, the inexperienced, and the oppressed. Society tells us that we can't be happy unless we're intimate with multiple people. Committed, long-term relationships with the end goal of marriage are said to be boring and confining. Women are told that they can't find themselves in such relationships. The reality is that sleeping around has devastating consequences, while monogamy leads to true and lasting happiness. Could lead. 3, you need to have a body of a supermodel. Beauty standards have shifted greatly since the beginning of mankind. Once, a woman's natural body, unaltered by diets, excessive exercise, and surgery, was considered beautiful. Healthy, fertile bodies were the subject of great masterpieces. They were seen all over Hollywood. They were posted on billboards and in magazines. Now we're made to believe we should have slim bodies of supermodels or the toned arms and abs of elite athletes. We're given tips on how to cut calories, work out like men, and alter ourselves to fit society's standards. Our health is tossed aside in this vain pursuit. We don't need to have a balanced hormones, good mental health, or fertile cycles. It's more important that we look like Jillian Michaels. And note though, that's kind of the opposite of what they were saying before. Like being obese is super healthy, or being super toned is super healthy, not just being a natural, comfortable weight. Some sort of middle ground. And there's no difference between allure and blatant sexuality. Society also tells us the idea that true beauty and attractiveness come increasingly from sharing our bodies and sex lives with the world. For this reason, women's clothing lines are more focused on getting Instagram likes than helping women build a stylish, sophisticated wardrobe. Modesty is said to be a quality forced upon women by an oppressive patriarchal society. We should be free, instead to exhibit our bodies, attracting attention from all. Paradoxically, society condemns men for looking. We're going to be seen as sexy, but not by the men who we don't wish to view us in that way. Got it? I know. It's backwards. Your body, your choice. Number 5. The same culture that tells us we need to mold our bodies into their image of perfection also tells us that when it comes to childbearing, it's our body and our choice. This narrative hurts women because it reinforces that we are victims instead of active participants in our lives. We have a lot of choices, not just the one to terminate a pregnancy. We are not told that abortion leads to depression and other psychological issues. We're not told about the many physical risks faced by women who choose abortion. We're not told that we need to take responsibility for our sexual choices. Instead of encouraging women to act the victim in their own life, why doesn't society lift up women in their ability to grow and nurture life? Of course, number 6, men are the enemy of the female empowerment. According to our culture of victimhood, women are the perpetual victims in a male-dominated society. Men are the enemy in education, sports, the workplace, and politics. Why do we not hear the truths that women outnumber men in American universities? That there are more female than male sports teams in the NCAA? That the wage gap is a myth? That many women hold powerful positions in the business world? And that there are 26 women in the Senate and over 100 in the House? Women have just as much opportunity as men do in our country, but society would rather have us continue to play the victim card. And number 7, you can do whatever a man can do. Today's version of feminism is less about promoting femininity in all of its unique splendor and more about encouraging women to act like men. The general goal of equality is well-intentioned, but the type of equality and the means of attaining it are misguided and unsound. Women don't need to, and oftentimes can't, do whatever men do because we aren't physically, mentally, and emotionally as the same as men. Ooh, spicy take, especially in what we are discussing right now. Instead of attempting to undertake the doings of men, women should be pursuing many wondrous acts and habits that are distinctive of our sex. In doing so, we'll bring back femininity in all its glory and reach new heights as women. Not birthing people, but women. Number 8, your social life is less relevant if you're not present on social media. Now, I love this one because I think this one pertains to literally everybody. And I'm going to read it and then I'm going to kind of embellish this one a little bit. Statistically, women use social media sites such as Instagram and Facebook more than men. Predisposed to comparison, women often see the highlight reels, of others' lives and suffer feelings of jealousy, inadequacy, and pressure to become like the glossy versions of others. We're made to feel that if we don't post perfectly curated photos showcasing perfect lives, then we're irrelevant and insignificant. We're missing out. We're doing something wrong. This influence to overshare is actually what's making us miss out. We miss out on being present in our own lives, on seeing and appreciating ourselves for who we truly are, and understanding what matters is not the highlights, but life in its entirety, the ups, the downs, and everything in between. Okay, I love that because that's really, really important because everybody does that. We all do this. We look at others online, we compare each other to others and get down on it. Okay, maybe not everybody, okay? Don't get, upset, but it happens a lot. People do that. They tend to look at celebrities, put them on a pedestal, think, oh, I wish I had that life, ignoring the golden life they have themselves, or not even think to look at your own life and realize you've got a great life and amazing people around you, and society is, in fact, pretty good. But when you compare yourself to rich people who seemingly have perfect lives, when everyone has issues, everyone has emotional turmoil sometimes and fights, and life isn't so peachy, but some people post all the perfect peachiness on Instagram and Facebook to show that they have those lives. It's an issue. And it does seem that women are predisposed for comparison. And number 9, there are no good men anymore. Where have all the good men gone? The answer? Modern day feminism has either destroyed them or sent them into hiding, so they are, in fact, harder to find. We desire chivalrous men, but we're told that chivalry is bad. We're told that it's demeaning to women, when in reality, chivalry honors women as being worthy of deep respect. Many men today are, because of this lie, afraid to act properly towards women. Those who still do are often demonized. They do exist, though. We're just looking in the wrong places, i.e. bars, nightclubs, college parties, and for the wrong things, i.e. one-night stands and casual relationships. And number 10, you have to be involved in politics. The personal is political. There's been a push to politicize everything about our daily lives. We're supposed to view everything from our work to our romantic relationships through the lens of femininity and the patriarchy. This type of thinking is incredibly destructive. It undermines your trust in being coworkers, your partners, your society. If everything is part of a system being used to oppress you, how can you ever achieve happiness? Women are encouraged to abandon such tawdry pursuits as marriage and children in exchange for proving themselves in the corporate world while fighting patriarchy in the street. It's okay, and in fact more healthy, to have parts of your life separate from your political views. I agree with that 100%. Okay, look at this. A lot of these things can be applied to society in general. Okay, obviously we're talking about women more specifically, because the whole birthing people thing is rather ridiculous. And I'm so just fed up with this whole nonsense about systemic racism, systemic whatever stuff. Someone was asking what this article was. This is from EV Magazine. EV Magazine, I follow one of the owners of EV, and they post, I mean, they're geared towards women, but they're very helpful in just seeing, a different perspective, a different view of things. And it's a good magazine for reference for a lot of different things like this. But this kind of stuff, this society is telling women, it's basically trying to get rid of women. Well, you should just accept being a birthing person because it's more inclusive. You should, it's just kind of ridiculous. I'm getting so fed up with everything being politicized. And, if you don't believe in this one thing, you must disagree with me on all these other things. So then you're a bigot, you're a sexist, you're a racist, you're all of these things. And that isn't always true. Sure, maybe sometimes it's true. But for the most part, it's not. God, I'm just fed up with it. All right, I'm over it. I would like to tell you a little bit more about this ant species, but I basically summed it up. It's a newly discovered miniature trap-jaw ant from the evergreen tropical forests of Ecuador, bears the curious Latin name Stromagenus ayersthae, okay, among hundreds, which are also named in honor of people, but end with they instead of A-E and I. It's science. Trust the science, right? My goodness, I'm so fed up with this. Aren't you sick of this? Aren't we just sick of this? My goodness. I'm so fed up with dealing with racists on the internet. They're mostly Democrats, mostly these far leftists, mostly the people who are claiming they're non-binary. It's like, okay, well, you were still born male or female, all right? Whatever you identify as. Ants are not human beings, okay? They're ants. Ants are going to be male or female. They even talk about it in this article that there is the male version of the ant and the female version of the ant, but for human diversity and inclusivity, we're going to say they, them. Gosh, it's so ridiculous.